Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
I never get to talk to a priestess. I've got one here today, and she's somebody that can provide insight, clarity, growth, development in your life through many different spiritual rituals, if you will. And let's dig into that today. Priestess Miriam joins us here on the program. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
So you do a lot of ritual work, and a lot of that is in your temple where you are now. Tell us about that.
It's amazing about ritual work. It's a lot of people think it's a science of doing physical activities and circles, but development of an institution that can concede a wellness of humans uh, I don't want to say it like that. Because I get a little bit over indifferent about rituals, the way people think about rituals. It's meaning forming a circle or doing drumming or dancing around the Mayberry bush or different things on that level, which is not bad if you're dancing around the Mayberry bush and seeking your lover, right? So, but establishment of an idea comes through something that can formulate for growth and progress. And if there is putting together a created structure, just think we got Thanksgiving coming up, and it's like a big ritual. You got to get all of the stuffings and the turkey and the puddings and all of that together. And so, and to feel the hearts of your families or friends. And so I would say if you are putting together a formula of an idea of a spiritual ritual, it is to feel the hearts of the human who's struggling through maybe financial situations, romantic situations, or parents who have children that has autistic syndromes and many of the different elements that cause people to suffer with delayed uh, in their nervous system, delayed in their blood pressure, and all of these things can be a part of what, if we want to label it with voodoo rituals. But many people don't think about it like that because we're on this venue about the ancestors or the path. What did the African do? How many rituals did they formulate then? And what would be the purpose? So, but rituals for me and the Voodoo Spiritual Temple, and it's an organized institution to meet people's needs that they cannot no longer feel good that they lost their husband. They want you to bring their husband back. And so it's how you set up a structure to help a person to regain trust or regain his partner or her partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that could be a ritual, but it might not be done in an open space. It's private to the individual that is seeking to get some things repaired in his life. And so those are private rituals, and that's done out of the reach of peoples, and it's private and it's sacred to the individual that come and get favor from you. I don't know if I may have botched that up.
No, I'm pretty much understanding that. Let's go to voodoo rituals. So many of us have a perception of the word voodoo, and it kind of scares us and thinks, it's demonic and people are doing things to other people, but not necessarily so, right?
Well, not necessarily so, because voodoo is a word that has some form uh, of eclectic thoughts through language or the French language or the African having to learn to discipline their ideas through the French vocabulary system. And so, vous, comment allez-vous, are how these different things is when we're trying to understand it, then we try to look at the order of the humans that it was verbalized through. And how did that person come to terms with that word character? And if we're looking at the African people that were under the French rule, and they had a language, but they didn't have the vocabulary system organized that it could be carried on with the French, because the French did not understand the African language. But it's easy for the African to learn the French because it has a created vocabulary structure that can organize the tongue to say Voodoo. But it's the substance, or it's the what is need to get done and how you will look at it. But then people will say, oh no, but voodoo. Well, it's I have something written out. I wish I didn't know you was going to talk about that, but I was sitting with my
Well,
notes this morning.
I want to know your past, your upbringing that got you to where you are today, helping and supporting people and providing them with insight through all of
Yeah,
this. How did that begin?
yeah. Well, that's a trip. That's where we was going to go with. There's always a root of the beginning, and there's always something more defined. What we want to. I was trying to get my notes. I wish I had them right up front, so we don't go back and forth with this. This
Sure.
would be kind of not a good broad podcast if we're going the way we're going, because it's not a straight way for you to
It's like
talk.
the car is swerving down the road.
Yeah, it's going
All
like a
good.
rocket roll ship.
All good.
So everything has a beginning, not what we thought, or not what people think that where you are. Because even though we are born, and we never forget, we had something when we were born. How you get that? You want to get that? Oh, let me relax myself so I can get the point over better to the you and the audience. So
Hmm.
again, let me get just give me a second.
Sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so many people think that where they find you is what you really are. And what I was going to talk about today, that I was born in the Mississippi in 1943 with my mom, my great grandmother, with people just say from the roots of things. And we were all introduced to the Baptist church. And I find consolation in my soul from going to the Baptist church. And somewhere in my younger days as a young child, sitting quietly in my soul, and I was like 11 years old, and somehow some divine principle energy flowed through my soul. And I said, well, Lord, however it is, that let me not say I know you, but truly know you from my soul. And somewhere that was a confirmation when we were in our revival service back in church, and something touched me deeply. But because it touched me deeply at that time, it didn't just start me from having to grow and to evolve into the social world that we live in, and to get to the different sources of experience that we need, that whatever is going to be practical for us later down the road, as Bobby Blue Bland was saying, farther up the road, things can shift. But the inspiration that has initiated in you from whatever time, as a young child or even a baby, it has their time to formulate and to become more uh, um, advanced with a magnetic force of energy, that when you do get to where I sit, you're not so caught off guard to give a proper service to those who are struggling or suffering in their life. And from that time, 11 years old, and another point I take from a minister used to, in his sermon, he say, however you trust and believe in God, or however the Spirit is with you, then you have to rise and go out and labor for what is to sustain you. And that's the greatest confirmation of that follow me today, that from that minister and that church, that where I find the deep soul principle of God in me. And you can't sit on God, you can't sit on the spirits. You have to rise up and become an applied person toward the spirit. A lot of people want to go trying to get the spirit to now be an applied person. But through your different experiences, struggles or hardship or however we labor it, it is that what makes you become the creative foundation of a servant or of a priestess, or however we become under a fixed title to be a president. So no experience, no substance, no strength from yourself to give. Well, you just might as well just sit on the grass and just relax.
And
But
there's nothing wrong with that. We all need that from time to time, right?
right. So, but is how my life in 1990 and 70s, and I met my first spiritual minister. In America, we call it spiritual signs, spiritual ministers, and lady ministers are called bishop. And doing the same practice as I, or many, but because now we're thinking back to Africa or to Hinduism, to all of these different other ways. But I love what had mounted me in America. So, and so meeting Reverend Whiteley were like meeting a father of the soul, or he says, however the spirit is with you, never let it get away from you, and you will never long for anything. I was what, 28 years old. How in the heck could I think not longing for something? So that was in 1970, 73. And so, and then however the story took shape from that, then in the 1982, I was ordained in my ministry in Chicago under a spiritual lady, uh, Archbishop Bates in Chicago. And however, it's like, wow, and thinking, well, that would be it.
Mm.
But in 1989, then I were at my 13th year in her church and service. And so it's like, well, something you can't put your hand on. But Priest Oswald Chamani, we call him, was born in Belize, Central America. And somehow, in the same year I was born in America, and and he was born in 1943 in Belize. But however, the spirit brought him and that connected energy, where we used to sing as kids, my Bonnie lies over the ocean, my Bonnie lies over the
The
sea.
sea. Yeah.
And so I guess my Bonnie find me at the right time.
I want to
And
ask, I want to ask in your journey, Priestess, what was your greatest lesson in your
uh,
journey? All, from childhood to now, what's one thing that you learned that you take with you every day?
uh, wow, so many. To be focused and not to, that's not it. You caught me that time. Uh, to be grateful and
Good
to
one.
give thanks for all the evolutionary experiences that you have gone through, whatever time in your life, and never count one worse than the other. Because all your experiences that you have gone through, if you fallen like I was moving fast. I fell down the stairs. I broke my leg. And I'm like, well, dag. And I take responsibility for your action. I was moving fast. I had those wedges. And I said, you broke your fucking legs. By my experience having worked in the hospital and knowing how the doctors align the leg when it breaks, I sit down and I align my leg and I waited till the ambulance come. And I only had no pains in my leg. Once you take responsibility for your action, you put yourself in check, and then you sit down with the circumstance. And that's what I tell my clients. We want to labor everybody for something, but we was there. And your role that you played, you take responsibility for that. And when you sit well with that, then you can see more clear. And as it says, every man for himself and God for us all. So don't be a God to chastise a person and tell him how his error, and you don't take responsibility for yours. But a lot
Mhm.
of people like to tell somebody about their faults, but they hide their faults. And oh no, not me. So those are kind of punts that I take each day, and I do because I deal with a lot of people with different stresses and different complaints. And if I had not taken well for
Yeah.
my problems or issues and put them in a different focus, I could not be able to express that to my clients. So
Well,
if I tell my clients that and I don't take responsibility, what am I doing sitting in the seat of a healer? So first thyself in all you do to organize you first, and then you can apply well to somebody else who's struggling. It's in that order.
well, gratitude, you mentioned, Priestess, being so important, but you took it a bunch of layers deeper in that, okay, so you broke your leg. Not the most fun thing in the world. However, maybe there's a lesson there that you can be grateful for. Maybe it was the universe's way of saying, hey, you need to take some time. Now I'm gonna force you to take time because you can't walk.
That's true. I
You
was
know?
really busy. It was a busy time. We had
Sure.
time. It was a time they was doing the interview with the vampire, and I had a place in it. But then I was in the hospital, and there was a lot of people suffering, and there was an experience. A young girl who had been uh, bad drug deal went wild, bad. She had been left under the bridge to die. Was right across from me in my hospital bed. But my hospital bed was outdoors, and friends from so many things can happen, put you in the right place at the right time. Not where we thought we should have been, not where we were so excited to be, right?
Yep.
So,
I want to share what I've learned in the last 2 years or so. And this is, kind of pilots me. It's three things: love everyone, trust few, always do the right thing for all, not just for yourself, because that would be selfish. The right thing for all. And the trust few, that took a while for me to figure that one out because I trust everybody can get you into trouble or people take advantage of you. What do you think of those three elements?
you can do good for everybody, but then you can also become a sucker because somebody
Well,
sometimes, yeah, okay. Anyway,
I got
so
you on that. Yes, you can be
yeah,
right, but that's where the trust thing comes in. You're only going to be a sucker if you trust everybody. If you're careful about who you trust, you're not going to be a sucker in terms of doing the right thing because you're going to know what the right thing is for everybody.
well, that could be, yeah. And that you put everybody in there, it's like whoopee, you know.
Well, for all, how about that? For all, like for
Well,
example, if you just left it as just do the right thing, all right,
well,
that's good. But
just
but But
do
that could
the
be
right stuff.
self-serving. I'm doing I don't care about you. I'm doing the right thing for me. So that maybe that's not the best way to think of it.
Well, I'm laughing because sometimes people come in and they're sort of disrupted, or people come in and then overbearing. And so you stand still. And I said, well, sometimes I said, well, you can just go right on back out the door, you know. That was the best
Mm,
thing for that person. Just go right back out the door. But not in the sense that you have to get so belligerent and and so but and and the person stop and just walk out the door so peaceful.
mm,
But how you said, and yet that was the best thing for that person because it had not considered the order of what was going on in the door before he got there. And yet he had to hear a voice different than what he thought otherwise, that he just could walk right in, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, since you can't stop talking, so what you can do, you can just step right on back out the door. And,
mm,
and so having a business here has taught me a lot. Having the Voodoo Spiritual Temple has taught me so much in these 30 years dealing with humanity.
wow.
And
Wow.
it's like with some of your clients, they're like, oh, well, you came to hear something. But if you have an argument against everything you hear, then why don't we just resolve it right here? You don't owe me anything, and you can just go forward. Because
Mm,
if the person came to get some insight how to help themselves through a circumstance, and then they argue more than they listen, then I must be the wrong person, right? So,
we're just about out of time.
oh,
Um,
I'm so sorry. How does that happen with us?
I don't know. I look up at the clock
Huh?
and I'm like that. I'm not reading that right.
That's
Yeah, yeah, I
terrible.
am. Yeah,
We
I'm
can't get
getting
an
the
extra
sign.
minute.
So
Oh my gosh.
well,
So my
tell me how we connect with you. Somebody, wants to experience some change, insight, information uh, from you. How do they find you?
well, people can go to my website, voodoospiritualtemple.org, uh, and just look up Priestess Miriam, New Orleans, and pop up. Boy, I'm so sorry we didn't. I had a lot of little things, but if I could express one little thing,
Sure.
what came to me in 2000, that voodoo just it came to me and in my sleep that voodoo um, is a accumulated thoughts and experiences brought from a lower state of consciousness And then through growth and changes, it progresses to a higher state of consciousness until it reaches enlightenment. Now, that came to me because everybody has a question about voodoo. And if you're going to be in a more creative, practical sense, then you have to look at the word as with some collected ideas, some collective visions, or created a substance to comply. So we haven't got to that part of, I call it voodooology. And everything voodoo is the word, but what is the alignment of it? What is the created functioning of it? How does it resonate within this substance of universal spirit? And so that's as I progress or having seminars, I would like to speak about voodoo on that level. And
Well, why don't we plan to do that next time we get together? I think that would be wonderful. I want to share with everybody too on your website some amazing pictures of some of the events you've done, but also you have a way that somebody can shop, whether it's certain oil, sachets, incense, books, CDs,
right.
stone sprays. You got a lot on your website. Really,
Yeah.
really, really cool.
And Voodoo, Priest Osborne, and we'll talk about him, but we had 5 years in New Orleans. We came together and he announced to me, he said, May, everything that we discussed will come to be, but I died long time before you. And it was amazing but he said, everything will be well.
Wow.
And so March the 6th of 95 is when Priest Osborne passed. And 1 month after he passed, in April, the gift shop opened to be. And he said, death is just a state of rebirthing. And so, the gift shop opening was like a rebirthing of his soul. And so it make it like duality because he can dual citizenship here. And so he was from Belize and I'm from America. So, but quickly in Belize and in Jamaica, they called, rather than voodoo, it's obia. And so there's different names for the same signs. And so a lot of things we can throw in when we
next time we get together. Again, the website voodoospiritualtemple.org. And Priestess, wonderful having you back here talking with you, and looking forward next time we get together.
Oh, thank you. Everybody have a blessed day.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.